In the future world, people can extract memories at any time. How does the protagonist discover a clue to a major case from a passionate memory? Why did his girlfriend, who was just in bed with him, suddenly disappear? As reality and memories intertwine, with the line between truth and falsehood hard to distinguish, will the protagonist be able to find his missing girlfriend and solve the case? In the future world, wars have caused global climate chaos and rising sea levels. Once a bustling city, Miami has now become a water city. People feel suffocated by the harsh reality, and memories of the past have become a business. Nick and Watts, former Marines, have opened a small shop specializing in extracting memories for people. One day, Nick's old war buddy, unable to pay his rent, wants to relive a good memory of the past with his legs intact. Watts helps him undress and injects a sedative, and he falls asleep in a tank of water. Then, under Nick's hypnosis, the memory display shows an image from 13 years ago. At that time, his buddy's legs were still intact, and he was happily playing with his guard dog. All these images are stored on a memory card and kept in a safe. Meanwhile, a woman named Elsa repeatedly relives her affair with a mysterious man. She enjoys revisiting the memories through a memory card, as she believes lying in the tank makes her feel the sensation of her body being filled in a more real way. After sending off the old customer, Nick and Watts are about to finish work. At this moment, May walks in from outside. She wants to find a missing key through her memories. Upon meeting, Nick is immediately attracted to May and decides to help her by personally extracting her memory. May takes off her red dress and reveals her fair body in front of Nick. Nick, embarrassed, averts his gaze, and his assistant removes May's earrings. Nick helps her into the water tank. Underwater, May's silhouette becomes even more seductive. As Nick guides her, the memory display starts to show May's day. In the morning, May gets up, washes up, dresses, and throws the key into her handbag. She then takes a boat to the ballroom dressing room, where she accidentally loses the key while searching for her earrings. Afterward, May goes on stage and sings Nick's favorite song. At this point, Nick is already deeply captivated by May. Only when the song ends does Nick come to his senses, ending the memory replay. But after May leaves, Watts finds the earrings May had forgotten and hands them to Nick. That day, Nick receives a call from Officer Avery. Avery suspects that Miami real estate mogul Walter is involved in a case where civilians died in a forced eviction. Avery wants Nick to relive Walter's memories to bring the evil Walter to justice. However, when Nick arrives for the interrogation, Walter's lawyer refuses Avery's request, citing Walter's severe illness. So Nick's business is cancelled. Disappointed, Nick leaves the police station in a foul mood. He takes a boat along the desolate silent coast to May's bar and returns the earrings to her. Nick drinks a few glasses of whiskey and starts discussing life with May. Nick learns that May began performing at the ballroom 4 years ago. Though the ballroom is informal, May is a youthful beauty. As expected, Nick uses his smooth, hypnotic words and successfully captures May's heart. May then asks Nick to take her home. Once inside, she takes off her coat and walks to the water cooler to get a cup of water. Beneath her blue dress, May's sexy back is revealed, and she sways her enticing hips. Nick is already burning with desire. May turns around and steps closer to Nick. At this point, Nick can no longer hold back. He picks May up and kisses her passionately. May's hips hit the water cooler, and then she pushes Nick down onto the sofa. Unknowingly, the water in the cup begins to slowly spill out. The next morning, Nick wakes up from his sleep and goes to the rooftop, where May is sunbathing. As Nick caresses May, reminiscing about the beautiful night they shared, May suddenly disappears before his eyes. The scene shifts, and Nick wakes up in the tank. It turns out that Nick has been reliving his memories with May for a month. Watts urges Nick to accept the fact that May has left. She tells Nick to pull himself together, as Officer Avery has informed him of a new business opportunity. However, Nick still can't accept the sudden disappearance of May. He finds May's former colleagues and friends, trying to find any clues before May's disappearance. But he comes up empty-handed. One day, while Watts is fast asleep, Nick takes out the memory card and lies in the water tank. Re-entering the memory once more, the two of them are lying on the soft grass, basking in the warm sunlight, holding each other tightly atop an ancient castle, dreaming of a happy future together. Suddenly, a loud knock is heard at the door. Nick looks around and sees a cart driving off in the distance. When he notices something strange underwater, he reaches down and picks it up, only to find it's May's earring. On their way to the prosecutor's office, Nick tells Watts about the earring, but Watts doesn't believe May had come back. They arrive at the interrogation room and see someone lying in a rescued water tank. Avery introduces them to the person. His name is Falks. He used to work for the New Orleans drug lord, St. Joe. In order to catch St. Joe, Avery needs Nick and Watts to extract information about him from Falk's memories. As Falk's memories are released, the prosecutor finally sees St. Joe and details of the transactions. At that moment, St. Joe is distracted by a song. The singer is none other than May, whom Nick has been thinking about constantly. However, this memory is from 5 years ago, and May hadn't met Jack yet. Next, St. Joe introduces May to the world of contraband, gaining full control over her. Finally, Nick guides Falks through the memory of May's last encounter with him. May steals contraband from St. Joe and knocks Falks out cold. At this point, Falk's memories abruptly stop. Nick is still in disbelief, unable to accept that May was involved with contraband. Ignoring Watts' advice, Nick decides to personally go to New Orleans to find May. The scene shifts, and Nick finds St. Joe at a bar. Nick pretends to be interested in buying contraband to strike a deal with St. Joe, but St. Joe quickly spots the flaw in Nick's story. After some interrogation, Nick admits the real reason is to find May. Upon hearing that May was the one who stole his contraband, St. Joe flies into a rage, ordering 2 thugs to push Nick into a fish tank to feed him to the fish. In a critical moment, Watts makes a dramatic entrance, shooting one of the thugs holding Nick down. St. Joe remains calm, holding 2 guns and shooting at Watts. Watts dodges quickly and shatters the fish tank, giving Nick the chance to kill the other thug. In the end, Nick and Watts team up and kill St. Joe. Unfortunately, St. Joe dies without ever tasting fresh New Orleans chicken wings. Watts helps Nick leave the bar, and they return to Miami. Heading to Nick's shop, Nick continues his efforts to find clues about May's disappearance through memory fragments. In one memory, May tells Nick about her most unforgettable moment in life. 5 years ago, May got lost at sea while drifting from New Orleans, only to be saved by a woman who gave May the hope to keep living. May then came to Miami and began working as a singer in a nightclub. The scene shifts, and Watts recalls the last time she saw May. That day, May came to the shop while Nick was out, handing Watts a bottle of liquor. While Watts drank, May secretly stole a memory card from the shop's safe. It turns out May had been trying to get close to Nick in order to crack the safe's code. Nick and Watts open the safe and find that the only memory card missing is Elsa's. Why did May go to such lengths to steal it? Confused, Nick takes a boat to the city park's waterfront market to search for Elsa, but Elsa's employer mistakes Nick for city management and runs off. Nick catches up and explains his purpose. The employer tells Nick that Elsa has been killed, and Elsa's son has been captured by May. Nick's confusion deepens. Could May be a murderer? Nick searches the entire park for clues. When he enters a small dark room, a man in black knocks him down with a heavy punch, warning Nick not to continue searching for May. The scene shifts, and Nick returns to the shop, extracting the memory of his beating from the man in black. Watts notices that the man in black is the same person who appeared next to St. Joe when Nick was extracting Falk's memory at the police station. Thus, Nick rashly goes to the prosecutor's office for help from Avery. At the office, Nick learns that Walter is dead, and his estate will be inherited by his wife and son. The place is packed with an angry crowd, people wanting to put an end to Walter's real estate empire. Nick's gaze locks onto Walter's wife, and he suddenly remembers that he once extracted a memory of her. Nick returns to the shop, and with his vivid memories of Elsa and the mysterious man having an affair, he listens closely to the voice of the man. This voice has been haunting Nick. At that moment, Watts returns to the shop. From Avery, she learns that the real name of the fake cop is Cyrus. Cyrus once worked for St. Joe, but had a falling out with him before coming to Miami, where he continued serving Walter. Nick then plays a memory of Tamara and Walter, and through the voice comparison, Nick and Watts are convinced that the mysterious man having the affair and committing the murder is Walter. The clue finally connects. Nick deduces that before his death, Walter sent Cyrus and May to kill Elsa and Freddie, to prevent Elsa from claiming the inheritance. To find May, they must first find Cyrus. But now that Walter is dead, the only remaining clue is Tamara. However, Nick knows the search will be dangerous. Despite Watts' repeated requests, Nick ultimately decides to send Watts away. The scene shifts, and Nick heads alone to the dry land, where Walter had lived. He had built a dam to isolate his home, pushing the waves toward the outer slums. With the butler's guidance, Nick finds Tamara, who has gone insane due to Walter's death. Tamara is immersed in cosplay, and mistakes Nick for Walter. Nick pulls her back to reality, Tamara tells Nick that Cyrus is hiding near the recycling plant. Soon, Tamara's son notices Nick and orders the security to drag him out and shoot him. A security guard, who had once served in the Marines, sees the Marine Corps insignia on Nick's arm. Their bond of brotherhood saves Nick's life. Nick leaves dry land, buys a small boat, and heads to the recycling plant. Suddenly, he spots a woman with a figure resembling May's and follows her to the second floor. Nick does indeed find Cyrus, but the woman he followed is not May. Nick pulls out a gun and demands Cyrus reveal May's whereabouts. Cyrus, realizing Nick won't shoot, turns and jumps out of the window. Nick hurriedly chases after him, and the two engage in a rooftop fight. Nick loses his gun and is overpowered by Cyrus. Cyrus seizes the chance to escape. Nick chases him again, and another brutal fight ensues. They tumble from the upper floors to the lower levels, and in the struggle, Cyrus' arm gets caught in some steel bars, and the floor collapses. Cyrus and the piano both sink into the sea, but Nick knows that if Cyrus dies, the trail to May will be lost. Nick takes a deep breath, dives into the sea, and desperately saves Cyrus, but Cyrus kicks him away. Just as Nick is on the brink of death, he sees May's memory flash before his eyes. Nick, with a final burst of energy, lets out a shout and secretly injects Cyrus with a needle. The scene shifts, and Nick returns to the shop, extracting Cyrus' memory about May. That day, May, who has already arrived in Miami, is intercepted by Cyrus on her way to work. Cyrus threatens May, trying to get close to Nick. Under Cyrus's threat, May had no choice but to comply. So, May first learned about Nick's interests through Nick's friend, then the memories of the keys and the missing earring. These seemingly random events were actually all part of May's meticulous planning. What no one expected was that during this time, May began to genuinely develop feelings for Nick. In the end, May stole Elsa's memory card and gave it to Cyrus. It turned out that Cyrus had been sent by Walter's son. When Walter's son learned that his father had an illegitimate child with Elsa, in order to prevent Elsa from claiming any of his inheritance, Walter's son ordered Cyrus to find and destroy Elsa's memory card and then kill Elsa and her son. At the same time, Cyrus killed Elsa and was preparing to poison Freddy. In a desperate moment, May arrived, picked up Freddy, and fled by boat. After hiding Freddy, May went to Nick's shop, but when May knocked on the door, she was met by Cyrus, who took her to the car. Reluctantly, May left an earring as a marker, and when Nick saw May through the crash glass of the car, she affectionately said, "I love you." At that moment, Nick realized that May hadn't turned bad. Afterward, Cyrus forced May to consume a large amount of illegal substances and pressured her for Freddy's whereabouts. Before the effects of the drugs could take hold, May stood up and said to Cyrus, "What mirage? White partitioned bed." These words only made Cyrus more furious, as he had no idea what May was talking about. But Nick understood perfectly because May had once told him about her memory of drifting at sea. Nick now realized that Freddy was hiding in a small white house. Nick walked into the time portal, and his figure overlapped with Cyrus's. May faced Cyrus, but it looked more like she was saying a heartfelt goodbye to Nick. Then, May seized the opportunity to stab Cyrus. Afterward, May swallowed all the illegal substances and jumped out of the window, ending her life. Despite Nick crying in agony, it was of no use. Soon, Cyrus's memory of May ended. After the light faded, Nick, now furious beyond measure, guided Cyrus back to memories of the burning pain he had ignored. Nick intended to make this man who killed May, Cyrus, suffer in an eternal torment of repeated hell. Having learned the entire truth, Nick arrived at Walter's house and immediately exposed all of Walter's son's schemes. Before this, Nick had already notified the police to go to the small house and retrieve Freddy. With the memories Nick had extracted from Blackwell, the police would soon piece everything together. With irrefutable evidence, Walter's son was doomed. Thus, a once famous real estate family finally crumbled due to a theft and murder case. With all the sins thoroughly buried, finally, Nick returned to the shop, his body immersed in the water tank. He planned to spend the rest of his life forever submerged in the memories of May. In that place, there was no tragic ending, only happy memories.